As the sun began to dip behind the jagged hills, casting long shadows across the Spartan camp, I stood alone at the edge of the cliffs, staring at the vast Persian army that stretched far into the distance. The air was thick with the scent of salt water and smoke from the campfires. The night was cold, but the heat of the coming battle burned within me. I had gathered the bravest warriors of Sparta. Our shields were ready, our spears sharp, and our hearts full of unshakable resolve. But it wasn't the weight of my warriors that concerned me. No, it was the unknown ahead. The Persians were massive, their numbers overwhelming, and their power, at first glance, seemed unstoppable. Yet there was something I knew we had that they did not. Something that had been honed for generations in the stone, sweat, and blood of Sparta: discipline. But the strength of Spartan warriors wasn't the only factor at play. I had a moment to pause, and in that silence, I received a visit that would challenge my entire strategy and perspective. A voice, both foreign and familiar, came from behind me. It was Demaratos. Demaratos was once a Spartan king, ruling a city that had now turned its back on him. Exiled for reasons I would not soon forget. He had abandoned his duty, his loyalty to Sparta. Yet he returned, not as a friend, but as a man with knowledge. Knowledge I needed, but perhaps did not want to hear. He approached me, his footsteps hesitant but determined. "Leonidas," he said, his voice sharp but burdened by the weight of someone who had lived through betrayal and regret. "I have heard your plans, your strategy. But I must warn you, do not think the Persians are as weak as you believe them to be." I turned to face him, the firelight dancing across his weathered face. His eyes, once full of the pride of Sparta, now held something else, something I hadn't expected: wisdom. He was no longer the proud king I had once known, but a man humbled by exile. He looked at me not as an ally, but as someone who had learned a lesson from the world outside Sparta. I could feel the bitterness rising in my chest. "You think I do not know the Persians?" I asked, my voice tight with a growing sense of frustration. "You think I am unaware of their numbers, their ambition?" Demaratos did not flinch. He looked at me directly. "I know you understand their numbers, Leonidas, but what you do not understand is the way they will fight. They will not fight with only the strength of their arms. They will fight with a vision that binds them together. Their king, Xerxes, is a leader who inspires not just soldiers, but an entire empire. They do not need to fear the Spartan shield to defeat you. What you fail to see is that they will use the weight of their power, the sheer will of their numbers, against your pride. They have an ambition that drives them." The words stung. To be reminded of our pride, our greatest strength, was no easy thing. But I listened. I stood silently, allowing his words to sink in, though my mind screamed to dismiss them. But it was not my mind that needed to lead me to victory. It was my ability to hear, to understand, and to adapt. In that moment, I realized that Demaratos wasn't merely warning me about the Persian army. He was warning me about my own arrogance. Spartan pride had always been our shield. Our discipline, our courage in the face of adversity, had been enough to make us feared. But I was blind to one thing. Our enemies, like us, could change. Their unity, their strength through numbers, could make them a formidable foe. The Persians would not be defeated by our brute force alone. I did not immediately tell Demaratos I had accepted his counsel. But as I lay in my tent that night, staring at the canvas above me, I thought long and hard. I recalled the faces of my warriors, the young men whose mothers had trained them from birth. I thought of our spears, our shields, our hoplites. Yes, we were Sparta, but even the mightiest tree can fall if it doesn't bend with the wind. I ordered my captains to revise our strategy. I instructed my scouts to gather intelligence on the Persian movements, on their formations, and on Xerxes' strategy. We would not fight them as we had fought others before. We would adapt. Our shields would be the same, but our minds had to be more agile. We would use the narrow pass at Thermopylae to our advantage, forcing the Persians to fight on our terms. It wasn't a perfect plan, but it was one that allowed us to use the knowledge we had gained. When the day of battle came, the ground beneath our feet trembled with the march of an army far larger than any I had ever seen. The Persians advanced with their banners waving high, their war drums beating a rhythm that seemed to shake the earth itself. But as they approached, I knew we had done the right thing. We had adapted, prepared for the unexpected. We had learned to not only fear the enemy, but to understand them. The battle was long and fierce, the clash of swords and shields filling the air with an unearthly roar. But we did not falter. We stood firm, our shields locked in unison, our spears thrusting with purpose. We forced the Persians into a position where their numbers counted for little, and through it all, I thought back to Demaratos. It was his words, though hard to swallow, that had allowed me to see beyond my pride and arrogance. We did not win because we were the strongest. We won because we understood the nature of our enemy, and we used that understanding to guide our strategy. We fought with wisdom, not just with strength. And that, in the end, is what led us to victory. So, I offer you this, my friend, as you stand before the challenges of your day. Do not let your pride blind you. Do not ignore the counsel of those who may seem weaker, or those whose words you do not wish to hear. Even in the darkest places, even from the lips of an enemy or an exile, wisdom can be found. The lessons we need are not always given to us in ways we expect. They often come in forms we are reluctant to accept. But listen carefully, and let those words sharpen you, as they sharpened me. Let your mind be as disciplined as your body. Let your spirit be as ready to adapt as your shield is ready to block. And in all things seek the wisdom that can come from the most unexpected sources. That is the true strength of a warrior. As you face your battles today, remember this lesson. Strength is not always in numbers, and victory is not always in might. Listen, learn, adapt, and you will be ready for whatever lies ahead. Now, go forth with a clear mind, and let wisdom guide your path.